I got about halfway through that book, and I got these people to Boulder, Colorado, and by that time, I had this huge cast of characters. There were 20 or 25.
Some films break your heart, and then there's The Green Mile. It's one of those stories that just lives with you, long after the credits have rolled. It's a gut-wrenching look at life, death, and those little moments of grace you find in the darkest of places. You remember the tears, the injustice, and of course, the gentle giant, John Coffey. But what if I told you that the story you think you know is just the beginning? What if beneath all that raw emotion and supernatural wonder, there's a whole other layer of secrets and symbols so powerful they don't just add to the story, they completely change it? Today, we're walking the mile again. But this time, we're looking for the details hidden in plain sight, the kind of stuff that will change how you see this masterpiece forever. Frank Darabont's 1999 adaptation of the Stephen King novel isn't just a prison drama with a fantasy twist. It's a story that uses its 1930s death row setting to ask some huge questions about faith, humanity, and what miracles really are. Most of us get so swept up in the heartbreaking story of Paul Edgecombe and his most unusual prisoner that we miss the clues woven into almost every scene, from characters who are way more than they seem, to the name of the prison block itself. Nothing in The Green Mile is there by accident. Today, we're peeling back those layers. We'll get into the powerful religious themes that frame the whole story, the hidden meanings behind a tiny mouse, the real roles of the guards and inmates, and even some behind-the-scenes secrets that made the magic on screen feel so real. By the end of this, you'll see that The Green Mile isn't just a story about a man with a gift, it's a deep look at what it means to be human in a world where good and evil can look terrifyingly alike. Before we even meet the men who drive this story, we're introduced to the place that holds them, E Block of Cold Mountain Penitentiary. The inmates and guards have a nickname for it, The Green Mile. Now, on the surface, the name seems pretty simple. It's named for the faded, lime-green linoleum floor that stretches from the cells to the electric chair, a chair they call Old Sparky. As Paul Edgecombe tells us, in most prisons, this final walk is called the last mile. But here, it's different. It's the Green Mile. That little difference is the first major clue to the film's deeper meaning. A last mile sounds like a dead end. It's final, absolute. But a green mile, that brings something else to mind, doesn't it? Green is the color of life, of nature, of growth and renewal. It's a color that feels totally out of place in the gray, hopeless world of a prison. This contrast is the key. The Green Mile isn't just a path to death, it's a metaphor for life itself. Think about it. Every single person, inside or outside of a prison, is walking their own mile. It's a journey we all have to take, filled with a mix of kindness and cruelty, hope and despair, and it always, inevitably, ends in the same place. The film brilliantly stretches this idea beyond the prison walls. When we see Paul as an old man, he's in a nursing home, which he calls his own Green Mile. He's surrounded by people walking their final path, just waiting for the end. Melinda Moores, suffering from her brain tumor, is trapped in her own personal Green Mile of pain. The symbolism here makes the inmate's journey universal. Their walk might be literal and terrifying, but it's really just a more intense version of the journey we're all on. We are all walking the Green Mile. The hallway itself is a physical map of this journey. It's a place where you see unbelievable cruelty and incredible grace existing side by side. It's where Percy Wetmore shows his sadistic side and Wild Bill Wharton unleashes his chaos. But it's also the exact same place where John Coffey performs miracles, where a little mouse brings joy, and where guards like Paul and brutal Howell treat condemned men like human beings. That duality is just like life, a messy, contradictory path where you see the absolute best and worst of people. Even the layout of the mile is symbolic. At the end of the hall, there are two ways to turn. A left turn gets you back to the general population, a second chance at life. A right turn leads to Old Sparky and death. This physical choice represents a spiritual one. It's a crossroads between salvation and damnation that hangs over every single character. So, the Green Mile isn't just a setting. It's the core metaphor of the entire film. It's the stage where a story of almost biblical scale plays out. As the old Paul Edgecombe says in that haunting final line, "Oh God, the Green Mile is so long." He's not just talking about the prison anymore. He's talking about the burden of a long life and the painful walk toward an end that we all face. When John Coffey shows up on the Green Mile, he's a walking contradiction. He's a mountain of a man. So huge that the filmmakers actually had to build a smaller bed for him to make him look even bigger, but he has the gentle, fearful spirit of a child. He's accused of the most horrific crime you can imagine, yet his eyes are filled with a deep, knowing sadness, not evil. He's a man condemned by the world, but he holds a power that can only be described as divine. That's because John Coffey isn't just a character, he's a clear and powerful stand-in for Jesus Christ. The most obvious clue? His initials. John Coffey. JC. It's a direct nod to Jesus Christ. He even makes sure the guards get it right, like the drink, only not spelled the same. That line forces everyone, including the audience, to stop and think about his name, but it goes so much deeper than his initials. Coffey's whole time on the mile mirrors the life and purpose of Christ. He's a figure sent to heal a broken world, in this case, the small world of Cold Mountain. His purpose isn't to judge, but to heal, and to literally take on the sins of others. His powers are a clear parallel to Jesus's miracles. He heals Paul's painful infection, a small, private miracle that proves his gift. He brings Mr. Jingles, the mouse, back to life after Percy brutally crushes him, just like the story of Lazarus. Most dramatically, he heals Melinda Moores of her brain tumor by absorbing her sickness into himself. When Coffey heals someone, he coughs up the sickness as a swarm of dark, insect-like creatures. This is also packed with religious meaning. In the Bible, one of Satan's names is Beelzebub, which translates to Lord of the Flies. These insects are the evil, the bad death, that he pulls from others. Coffey, as the embodiment of good, takes this evil into his body and destroys it. His fate is what truly seals the deal. John Coffey is an innocent man, executed for a crime he didn't commit. He's a scapegoat, dying in place of the real sinner, Wild Bill Wharton. This directly mirrors the Christian belief that Jesus, a sinless man, was crucified for the sins of humanity, and just like Christ, Coffey accepts his fate. When Paul offers to let him escape, to just open the door and let him disappear, Coffey says no. He's tired. "I'm tired of the pain I hear and feel, boss. I'm tired of people being ugly to each other." He chooses death not because he's guilty, but as a release from the crushing weight of his empathy. He feels all the pain in the world, and he just can't take it anymore. He even shows fear before he dies, asking Paul not to put the hood over his head because he's afraid of the dark, a vulnerable moment that echoes Christ's agony in the Garden of Gethsemane. In the end, John Coffey's presence on the mile is a test of faith for the guards. They witness a living, breathing miracle, and they know he's innocent, but they're trapped by the system. They have to participate in the execution of a man they believe was sent by God. And that's the real tragedy of the film. It's not just that an innocent man dies, it's that when humanity is faced with pure, divine goodness, it doesn't recognize it. And in the end, it destroys it. While John Coffey is the divine center of the film, the characters around him aren't just there to fill space. They're basically archetypes, each one representing a different part of humanity and how we react to good and evil. Tom Hanks's character, Paul Edgecombe, is our narrator and the story's moral compass. He's a good man trying to do his best in a terrible place. He's the main witness to everything that happens, the one who sees the miracle of John Coffey and is changed forever, but his role is a bit more complicated. In a way, Paul is a Pontius Pilate figure. Just like the Roman governor who oversaw Jesus' trial, Paul knows John Coffey is innocent. He has the power to step in, but he doesn't. When Coffee refuses to escape, Paul, feeling bound by his duty, essentially washes his hands of it and carries out the execution. This act haunts him for the rest of his unnaturally long life. Coffee's gift of a long life becomes a curse, forcing Paul to outlive everyone he loves, constantly remembering the day he helped kill a miracle from God. If Paul represents moral struggle, Percy Wetmore is just pure human ugliness. He's the perfect picture of petty cruelty, a small man who gets off on hurting those weaker than him. He's not a monster of pure chaos like Wild Bill, his evil is much more common. It's the evil of a coward, a bully who uses his little bit of power to inflict pain. Percy is terrified of any real danger, cowering in front of Wild Bill, but he's merciless with those who can't fight back, especially Edouard Delacroix. His torment of Del ends with that horrific, botched execution, where he purposely doesn't wet the sponge, causing Del to burn to death. It's a calculated act of pure sadism. But his fate is poetic justice. After Coffee uses him as a weapon to take out Wild Bill, Percy is left in a catatonic state, doomed to live out his days in the very same asylum he used to threaten people with. While Percy is petty evil, Wild Bill Wharton is the film's version of pure, chaotic evil, a devil figure. The second he arrives, he shatters the peace Paul has worked so hard to keep. He is chaos in human form, a destructive force with zero redeeming qualities. He's the one who actually committed the crime John Coffey is blamed for. In the film's allegory, if Coffey is Christ, then Wild Bill is the Antichrist, the source of the senseless evil that Coffey was sent to absorb. His end is fitting. He isn't judged by a jury, but by Coffey's divine justice. The bad death he put into the world is turned right back on him. In the middle of all this darkness, there's a tiny miracle, a mouse named Mr. Jingles. Befriended by the inmate Edouard Delacroix, that mouse is so much more than a pet. He's a symbol of innocence and hope in a place that has none. His tiny, vulnerable life on death row is a reminder that gentle things can still exist in the ugliest of places. Jingles' journey becomes a mini-version of the film's main themes. He's cruelly crushed by Percy, representing human evil, and then miraculously brought back to life by Coffey, representing divine grace. He shows us the whole conflict in a nutshell. Humanity is caught between forces of good and evil. Delacroix, his caretaker, is a man who did a terrible thing but finds a bit of redemption through his simple, pure love for this little animal. He's like the good thief in the crucifixion story, a sinner who finds grace at the very end. The power of the Green Mile doesn't just come from its amazing story, it also comes from the incredible craftsmanship that went on behind the scenes. The filmmakers used some clever tricks, and the actors were so committed it made everything feel intensely real. One of the most memorable characters is, of course, the little mouse, Mr. Jingles. But bringing him to life was a huge challenge. It turns out, the role was played by a team of 15 different mice. Seriously. Each mouse was a specialist, trained for months to do one specific thing, like roll the spool, play dead, or run from point A to point B. To get the mice to go where they needed them to, the trainers would often use laser pointers, a trick that's totally invisible on screen. The seamless editing makes you believe it's all one super intelligent mouse. Some of the film's most emotional moments weren't even in the script. Michael Jeter, the actor who played Edouard Delacroix, came up with one of the most heartbreaking ad-libs in the whole movie. During Del's execution scene, Jeter, who had hired a coach to perfect his Cajun accent, improvised his final prayer in Cajun French. The moment was so powerful and authentic that it reportedly made Tom Hanks cry on set, and it remains one of the film's most devastating scenes. The cast's dedication was just on another level. Sam Rockwell, who played the unhinged Wild Bill, wanted to look as grimy and unsettling as the character was in the book. For his nude scene, he actually asked the makeup department to put fake zits on his body to make him look more repulsive. That's commitment. Michael Clarke Duncan, in his Oscar-nominated role, had to tap into some real pain to play John Coffey. To get ready for the scenes where Coffey weeps, Duncan would think about his own father leaving him when he was a child. That personal pain made Coffey's tears feel so real they're almost hard to watch. Tom Hanks was so into his role as Paul Edgecombe that whenever Stephen King visited the set, he would stay in character and refuse to even sit in the electric chair prop, because he felt his character had to always be in charge of the block. Director Frank Darabont, who also directed The Shawshank Redemption, wrote the entire screenplay for The Green Mile in just 8 weeks. He made some key changes from the book to make the story work better on screen. For example, he moved the story's timeline from 1932 to 1935 for a very specific reason. So he could include the movie Top Hat. The scene where John Coffey watches the film, set to the song, "Heaven, I'm in Heaven," is his final request. It's one of the most beautiful and bittersweet moments in the entire movie, a perfect, final glimpse of grace before the end. The Green Mile is a film that sticks with you, not just because it's a sad story, but because it's working on a much deeper level. When you look closer, you realize it's a modern-day parable. The green-tiled floor isn't just a hallway, it's a metaphor for life itself, a path where cruelty and grace somehow exist together. John Coffey isn't just a gentle giant, he's a Christ figure whose presence tests everyone's capacity for faith and kindness. The people around him aren't just guards and inmates, they're all faces of humanity, the witness, the bully, the devil, and the innocent. Seeing these layers doesn't just make the story sadder, it makes it richer. It makes you ask some tough questions. What is a miracle? How would we react if we saw one? And what's the bigger tragedy, that an innocent man was killed, or that people are so often blind to their own salvation? The film breaks your heart, but it also fills you with a sense of wonder. It reminds you that even in the darkest places, on the longest of miles, moments of grace can and do appear. The Green Mile is so full of meaning, and we've really only scratched the surface. What other details or symbols have you noticed in the film? Is there a character or a scene that really hits you on a deeper level? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read what you think, and if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to find more hidden secrets in your favorite movies, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for walking the mile with me today.